We're going to do something a little different, and we're going to break it down into some quarters. We're not going to roll our porchetta today. We're just going to look at all the different cuts and different options that you can have with it. And then some of you are going to join me in how to seam out a hind leg. Okay? Things I look for first, there are some really gnarly things in every pig. So right here, I'm going to start, and that's a gland. I don't want to eat that. You got to pull them out. Okay? They're bitter. It'll be really a bitter thing. And then right next to that gland, and next to where would be the heart, right here, there's a little piece of a pork sweetbread. And then I've got another pork sweetbread right up here. So pork sweetbread or thymus glands found in the neck, and it's found, or heart breads are found in the heart. So this is a portion of one. Your butcher snagged the rest of it. Oh, yeah. And then I got another one right here in the front, up in the neck region. So I'm gonna pull that out first. And these are really like a unique treat that not a lot of people see. Okay, you mostly see beef sweetbreads or calf sweetbreads.
Oh yeah, nice.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull out some of my little ugly pieces. And folks, if you have questions, ask away. I'm gonna try to.
Where's the pork belly?
This is your belly right here. So this is actually a really good point. I think a lot of folks don't realize when you look at a hog has even length legs, right? So they stand completely horizontal, unlike a steer, which steers have breast because they have a different stature when they stand. So you have beef breast or plate, whereas belly is when they're on all fours, it's what hangs down, okay? So this would be your bacon or your porchetta or your belly. And then what's really unique about it, and I don't know if you can see it, maybe Brett can help me hold it up here. Come on, we can do it, Brett. We're adults. There we go. So see this right here?
Yeah.
This would be your skirt. This is what holds the organs in. So it'll flap over, okay? Yep. So that'll hold all your organs in, so when that animal's walking, things aren't bouncing down, okay? Really important to kind of understand what those parts do. And to kind of give you a little history, I learned to butcher backwards. I was never trained classically. I was never trained by a professional butcher. I went to UC Davis and bought animal husbandry books on how to save farm animals, how to perform operations on farm animals, and I worked backwards. And Jimmy, who's sitting out over here from Revel, knows that because Jimmy used to live in San Francisco and used to come to Encanto, and we kind of shared a whole butchery crew where we were all working together, learning how basically to save an animal for you. Right? Okay? So what I'm looking to do first here is I'm gonna remove this hind leg. So I butcher a hind leg like I'm gonna turn it into prosciutto. But then what I end up doing is saving it, seaming it out, and doing all the different muscles. So the key tool here is this first, okay? One, you want to keep all of them, but really I use my fingers. All I'm working on is sinew here, fascia. I'm just flicking. And you will notice in here, look, I've got another one. A lot of times they will take this here, which is the vein, they'll make an incision, and they'll actually pump brine into the leg. You do that at the...
No, you can find it in here too.
Yeah.
Once it's off, and then if you hit that sweet spot, if you're doing like a fresh animal especially, it makes your life a whole lot easier.
Does everybody know the difference between city ham, country ham, or prosciutto? City ham is a brine ham, what you would have as a deli ham, sliced for a ham sandwich. Prosciutto or country ham is salted hams or dry aged hams.
And country ham is?
Country ham is the same, it's a salted ham. The difference between country and prosciutto, country hams are barn aged, which means they fluctuate between high heat temperatures in the south and low temperatures, which gives them the funk. So it gives you a totally different beast there. So this is a really nice marbled fatty pig.
We're happy. So this is we have a no PUFA diet. It's no PUFAs. So what happens for a hog feed? There's lots of different things. In the state of Oregon, it's actually illegal to feed swill or like swill. You can't feed post-consumer product to hogs. Like, so you can't just feed them whatever slop. Sorry, not slop. We're past that. We'll do some some pre-consumer product from the garden, but they're eating a no corn, no soy, non-GMO feed. And one of the tricks to get hogs to fatten up is to feed them fat, canola oil especially. And then when that happens, there's a lot of inflammatory compounds in canola that transfer into the hog. And then the hogs carry that, and you might not even realize it, but you're kind of eating seed oil at this time. And you get exposed to these oxidized fats via the pork, and this does not have that. It leaves a nice firm fat, and they get high marble from all the high protein and the feed from those grain rations that we have.
So what I just removed here is what's known as a spider steak. Instead of dropping everything over, Brett will be the assistant. So where that lies is right here. You get it on beef as well, called a spider steak. Actually, Dario leaves the spider steak on the bone and actually serves it on the muscle. So I come around, I'm gonna take out our tenderloin. How many of you ever thought about buying and butchering a pig at home? Never? Yes? Ginny, you don't count.
Vinny can make it happen. Talk to her.
My grandparents did. My grandfathers did.
Yeah?
I saw it through a farm basement. I was like, great. Shit up.
It scared you?
There's not enough freezer space. And so they've been hogs have been around since before freezers. Right. So the Maialata celebration is like planning out your year, hanging something in a smokehouse, putting something on salt, putting the lardo in a marble box with salt to get it to show up later in the year. You can meter it out without so much freezer space.
So there's your tenderloin. One thing I want to kind of point out as I'm going to put little piles out, right? Like I've got some ugly bits that we don't use. You have trim and then you have fat. Like one of the things about that is when you get a hog like this, if you can get a half hog for your house, buy a chest freezer, right? And then you can literally feed your family in your home, get a little mini cryovac machine, seal things up, label them by weight and date. And you can feed your house. You can make meatballs, sausage, pâtés. You can have leg fillets, you can have pork belly, you can break it down into small ways so that it ends up being a super efficient way to eat. But yes, do you have a freezer that can accommodate it all? I do. So this is only a quarter of this flap. So if it's something like that, I would actually add that into a sausage pile. Right? So we'll have our little sausage pile and then our others. So I'll take off my hind leg. And by the way, this is really weird to actually talk to all of you in butcher. Normally I just, I put in headphones and I don't talk to anybody, and I like to keep all my fingers and just put my head down. So if I get quiet for a minute, ask Brett a question, because I need to focus for a few minutes here.
You want me to keep your fingers?
I want to keep my fingers.
There's two.
Yes, we do have Band-Aids. So there is a thing that's really important to kind of talk about is how you hold your knife when you butcher. There's two different ways, okay? A lot of times, we call it the Jack the Ripper, the cut, the incision to make your little nicks. And then when you get to certain areas, it helps to kind of curl that knife. Most of the time you'll see most people work this way. There's what's called flexible boning knife, stiff boning knife, and then you have, this is for making long sweeping cuts, whether it's removing skin, cutting through large swaths of the meat.
That's a sharp knife.
It's key. If it's dull, you're going to get cut, and it's the worst thing in the world. Talk about your hog.
Easy. We'll talk about the knives. I guess, having gone to culinary school or being in the kitchen, one of the first things you see is like going to that pistol grip hold. That's like, oh, they're holding the knife funny. It's really effective. I think it saves your wrist. I think one thing to worry about, and Jimmy might be able to attest to this for butchery, there's a reason that butchers are so strong and so generally large and fit. It's exercise doing this. And if you're not careful, you can really injure yourself.
On your leg. So a lot of times what you'll see is they'll have tables, they'll slide it to the end of the table, let weight do the work for it. So if you want to slide that over, I'm going to pull it to the edge.
So making sure the knife is really sharp, and then not being afraid to hold the knife in the direction that classical French.
Hear that noise? That's what I wanted. Utilizing nature is a great thing, especially when you're alone. Some people do what they call hang butchery, which means they'll hang the whole hog and pieces will fall off. I'm not the best fan of that, but see, she just wants to give way. I can see the bone snapped.
How much time between initially killing the animal and sitting here?
So this was brought to Carlton Farms right here in town, harvested on Monday. And there's different perspective on why you want different age. Some folks are concerned about histamines and want to have the meat processed immediately and frozen, prevent the histamine buildup. I'm a big fan. Some other folks want it really fresh so it doesn't dehydrate. You get as much weight as possible.
I like rigor.
I like a 4 or 5 day, like they call drip, where it allows the meat to kind of relax a bit and dry up. And I think it kind of concentrates the flavor. So this one was Monday, so we're day 6 right now.
So this bone, and I'll show this in the demo when we seam out the leg later, we're going to debone this leg and fillet it all out. But we would trim this off for prosciutto. You round it all off, clean it all up. Make sure, like right here, see you get a little nodule in here. You remove all those nodules if you want to cure it for prosciutto. And just very simple. If you want to leave the hock on, it depends on the individual. But I like to take them off and serve them as their own dish. Who doesn't like pig's feet? Right? So you come in, you count down 1, 2, 3, 4. Depends on the individual. Some people like to go 3, some people like to go 4, some people like to go 5. It depends on your chop size, right? I'm going to count down 4. By the way, they do make DeWalties for this, and it's awesome. They make bone blade specifics. They are awesome. Did you know that, Jay? Or you just want one now? They're great because you do not, the best part about that from a restaurant standpoint is you don't need to have extra insurance for having a bandsaw. You can have a DeWalt and it cuts your insurance down.
So to me, that choice on the ribs where you're splitting it is you have the choice with the chef. Do you want a little bit more copa, or do you want a little bit more loin that could be potentially turned into a chop? I'm a copa man myself.
Everybody's got a different spot. This one's perfect for the cook. So you see I switched knife for the big long ones because I'm getting big sweeping cuts. You're gonna have your shoulder blade in here. It's definitely crazy to have all of you looking at me. There's normally like 5 cooks standing behind me like this, so I'm worried if I'm gonna stab behind me. Yeah, that's gonna move, dude. We can't do anything about that.
Why don't you prefer the hanging method? This looks great, by the way.
I think it depends on the individual, right? I think a hanging method requires you to have a whole separate space. You need to have it hooked up to a beam in your ceiling, right? So most restaurants don't have that setup. If you're a full butcher shop, you would, right? It's designed for that. But to have a full-on hanging, and it's literally like having an engine block hoist. So it's got a chain and you gotta pull it, and it's got a hook that hooks into the hind leg. You make an incision here to hold it, and then you work and it kind of falls off. Traditionally, that's done for beef, right? Sides of beef, because you can't maneuver it on a table. With a pig, you have the space, you have the butchering room in your restaurants. You don't have to buy special equipment.
To me, the biggest advantage is protecting yourself and like not.
Oh, because the
wearing
things
yourself
fall.
out. Well, that and it's like if it's hanging and you're doing it by weight, it's a lot less like exercise doing it. And if you're doing a couple of pigs in a day, you exhaust yourself like throwing them all around if you let the weight do the work.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of weight, right? So there's a couple different ways of doing this. So like people want ribs, you can right here, you make a little incision, or if you want to leave big, what we would used to do, we used to call the bacon chop, we would leave the bacon on the bone, make a little incision across the top, or separate it off. So we're just going to take all of this off because Brett's then going to take them over and start stuffing.
So for porchetta, like if it's folks don't realize you can't have all the pig and eat it too, or
you can, you just can't catch the oink. That's the only thing we can't eat.
So you have to make your choice. Do you want porchetta with the loin and the bacon wrapped around it? Then you're not going to have your chops. You're not going to have bacon at that point. You want bacon? Like okay, then you can steam it out the correct way. You can still have chops, but you can't have bacon and chops and porchetta off the same side at least. You can pick sides.
You pick your battles, right? Sometimes what you'll do is at a restaurant, we'll actually make a cut. So what I'm trying to do is show you as much as possible instead of just turning it into the porchetta. So what you can do here, sometimes people make this decision here, right? And make a mini porchetta at their restaurant from the back half since there's no rib bones on, so then they can sell a pork chop, sell a mini porchetta, so then they're maximizing their financial yield off the pork, right? Or if you want, you can just take off the belly and have long bones on your chops, right? So then you can do pork belly, mini porchetta, chops. So it's like, how can you maximize your yield off what you get, right? It's not just always about shock and awe, the biggest thing. And the other thing to talk about is the difference between porchettas in different areas. There's skin on porchetta, there's skin off porchetta, and then there's also whole pig porchetta where it's stuffed back with all those things that everybody goes, ew. We stuff those back into the animal and roast it whole. And you walk up to the butcher and they say, I want more offal, I want more sausage. And you put your verde or your picante in it. So it really kind of gives you that balance of what you really truly want from your animal.
Is there an age of the pig that is best?
It depends on the farmer. Sometimes they want it by weight, right?
So like traditional market weight is like 250 pound hog. This one, I'm a big fan of taking a little bit past traditional market weight, so it hangs like right at 250 or
Usually
under 250. That usually, depending on the breed, right now heritage hogs that are at the market take anywhere like around, it could be 6 months ish, some take up to 8. If we used to raise American guinea hogs at the farm, that would take 15, which used to be traditional, but now it's like a non-traditional practice because it takes too long to the size. So you usually call it 5-6 months, and usually hanging a little over 200 pounds, about 250 pounds live weight.
Wow.
Brett, what do you want me to do? Do you want to make a mini porchetta and then have pork chops and then a belly?
I'm down for that. Yeah.
You want me to do that?
Do it. Yeah.
Do you guys want to see that difference? So you can see the difference between pork chops, a belly, mini porchetta. Does that sound interesting to everybody? Because you're all going to see the porchetta. Let's show you something that you can use if you buy a whole pig at home. Okay.
Question before you do that. Sorry. For back bacon, like they serve it in England, where would that be?
Back bacon is just the loin.
Just the loin.
So loin is pork chop without the bone.
Yep.
Okay. So here, Brett, come to me. Turn around. Okay. So back bacon is the loin. That's this here.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's the back. Now you have this loin becomes your pork chop if you leave the bone on, which is the rib, right? But remember, the back bacon is all it is this fat and this eye round. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and the belly, because it's on all fours, creates a back. Beef don't have backs. right? We talked about that before because their front legs are taller, so they have a breastplate.
And it's Canadian bacon when it wears denim.
Yes, it's actually cured in denim. You didn't know that? They actually take denim-made salt. They use denim salt. Okay, so let's see. My ribs. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting. Please bear with me. Here we go. Right here.
How much does the feed change the flavor?
Dramatically.
So what do you?
So I talked just about like different health considerations, but also I noticed in the time of year, especially when there's more forage, it's a good mast year, which means there's a lot of like acorn, and in this area there's lots of wild plums. So if you catch this sweet spot in October, when there's like kind of fermenting wild plum and acorn, and the hogs are out in the forest, it hasn't got too cold, they're getting their regular feed rations, plus all this forage. It makes the best cook of the year. So if you're getting a hog from a farmer that forests hog or pastures hog, that October sweet spot out in this region is the best. If you're getting a hog that eats a bunch of seed oils to fatten them quickly, a lot of carbohydrate, a lot of folks feed like we work with like a bread factory and get all the stale breads and
Really?
yeah. And
That's nasty.
As long as cheaper per pound puts more in the pocket, right?
But it doesn't make it right.
Well, you can be the judge and vote with your dollars and support those that don't feed a bunch of like processed foods to the hogs. Because what happens is like if Hostess has a bunch of expired product or they do a run and and something goes wrong, someone will show up and pay them kind of pennies on the dollar to pick up all these treats, and the hogs will end up eating Umpqua's expired ice cream, Hostess ding dongs that didn't quite ding dong right. And then
What is that? I never thought about that as a non-good ding dong, right? Like, what is a non-good Hostess ding dong, everybody?
So you end up, you eat what your food eats. So you end up eating a bunch of junk food via the hog.
So how do you know as a consumer?
Yeah, super tricky question. The best way is to know your farmer or know your butcher.
Know who you're buying from.
So are the Iberian pigs fed with acorns?
Not all, but like they call it de bellota. That's signifying that it's fed on acorn. So like jamón ibérico de bellota, to be true to form, needs to be the pata negra, the black Iberian pig, and it needs to be finished in the dehesa. It's a state forest, a national forest, and they finish on acorns, and they have like a parameter about how long it will take them to fatten. So to be jamón ibérico de bellota, it needs to be fattened on acorn or dehesa, but there's jamón ibérico, which is really specific. And then there's Serrano, which is the mountain pig, but that's a very specific one for the acorn pig.
Chris, tell them about when you saw there's a hot butchery.
Oh yeah, actually that's a really, so to talk about Iberico, thank you Tatiana. That's my wife over there telling me what to say. There's always it's gotta be a good thing to do that. Okay, so what I did was separate off the belly, okay? So we have a belly here, skin on, but I wanna show one thing before you move this. There's what I call a feather rib, okay? That lasts in here. Now if you do not pull those off, you're going to end up having a cartilage bone in there. So you kind of pull those off, and then what I usually do when we would marinate, or if we were to do porchetta with this on, we make bigger incisions, flap it open wider, put in all our spice, and then roll it up. So in Spain, when you get Iberico pig, they butcher pigs hot. They are killed, they are then scalded, they are dehaired, and then they are butchered warm. We in the US are the only ones who butcher pigs cold, which is kind of backwards if you think about it, because the pig itself, the fat solidifies and becomes hard, right? So imagine a warm pig where you can run your fingers through all the different muscle seams. As you move, right, all your muscles are loose. So you got these pigs that come off, they get slaughtered, they get scalded, they get dehaired, and then they're right on the conveyor belt. Right? So the term off fall means offal, right? Offal means to off fall. So the animal's harvested, it's knocked, they stun it, it's killed, it's scalded, all the organs are in. When it's upside down, they make an incision. And they make that incision and the organs fall off of the carcass into a bucket. That's where the term came from, to off fall, okay? But all of that is done while the animal is warm, temperature warm. It's really important because that's where you get all those secretos, all those secret cuts in Spain that you can't truly get out of butchering freezing cold pork. Because they literally was run by a bunch of older women. It was on a conveyor belt system. Down the center would be there's two sides. Pig would come down, they'd pull it apart, they'd seam it out with their finger, make a couple incisions, they'd put it in the tray above. The next person would take out the next cut. And it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
All right, here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, we've been had when the feeding years ago when one of the breweries, and I met a guy he raised pigs, and he would come in and pick up all the barrels of spent.
That's okay.
They call it SVG, spent brewer's grain.
Yeah.
So it depends. So it's a positive practice, in my opinion, when
It's
implemented
clean.
correctly.
Yeah.
If it's good quality grain, which is for human consumption, I'm assuming it's going to be obviously of high quality. When it's organic, even better. But the question to me is what part of the life cycle the hog is in. So spent brewer's grain is not great for, since it's already been used and extracted, it's not highly nutritious. So it's good for maintenance. So if you're they call farrow to finish, you have the sows and boars on your farm and you're doing the breeding program and then you're raising hogs to fatten and bring to market. The spent brewer's grain is excellent to maintain your sows and boars because you don't need them packing out a bunch of weight quickly. But if you're trying to bring market weight hogs, if your business is providing market weight hogs for sale, you want to get them to market weight as high quality as quickly as possible. And using feed that has had nutrient pulled from it is not the fastest way to do that. So it's not necessarily negative, it just might take you an extra couple of months and then that kind of fixes your own pocket at that point. You think you're saving on the feed, but then your hogs don't size up as fast.
Crackers. Hazelnuts they feed up here, yeah.
You have to be, there's everything within, I think folks forget that, you've heard about human getting transplants from pigs' kidneys or hearts and things.
Really? We're going to talk about that or we're going to eat later?
Well,
I mean, they are the closest thing to us, right?
So, but what I'm getting at is folks, you disassociate, I think, because you're eating this thing, but you forget that they're animals and a varied diet is important. Not overdoing it in any specific thing. I'm sure some have heard that from their own doctors.
Too much of anything will kill you, folks.
So, hazelnut, so good fat, right? So that can help them pack on fat. But if you having gorge on it, like the barico or acorn, they're just going to put on that fat. So catching it in the right part of the life cycle and using it purposefully is important. So in that hazelnut finish, there was a shop here, Tails and Trotters, a little while ago.
Yeah.
That was famous for hazelnut finish pork.
Are they gone?
I believe so, yeah.
I think a lot of things have changed.
Support your local butchers and farms.
Or they go away.
Yes, right. So the difference what's the difference in the loin sections here? I notice one has ribs and maybe one's
going to be the lower half of the belly, right? And what we're going to do here is I'm going to trim this sucker out and we're going to you can roll this guy up. There is going to be glands, hidden glands in all these little areas. Take the time to kind of sort them out. I'm going to remove, this will be the back end. Here's my tail. I'm going to take this all apart and he's going to roll it out for me.
Those really aren't glands, they're lymph nodes.
Lymph nodes, but they're glands, same thing, right? It holds bitterness, right? It's going to be, but if you think about it, glands, lymph nodes, they all carry bitterness. I'm sorry, sir? Can you explain that to everybody?
Well, a gland typically is something that secretes stuff, whereas a lymph node is a lymph node. It's where your white blood cells live. And I don't know, maybe white cells are bitter. I've never eaten a lymph node. And it doesn't make any difference. It's just.
So you might have.
I'm just trying to get the anatomy right so people aren't confused about what a gland is.
Have you had Mexican style chorizo?
Right? Yeah.
Oftentimes, that's where they end up and get spiced heavily. If you ever read the ingredients on Mexican chorizo, it'll say glands.
Oh, interesting. Well, that could be salivary gland.
You name it. If it ends up in a little pile.
Whatever's there.
So in this little area here, you're going to find you have a little bit of the bone sinew. Okay, this can be a mini. You can cut a mini portion off here. You have a little tail portion here. And now, if we were to take this and stuff it, I would make an incision, flap it open, and fill it. Right? So like big, fat. End trims we would portion this off. I would sell this as what I would call a tail. Right? Sell the tail meat. I would take this whole section off and roast it and serve it for a family. And then deep fry the whole tail braised on top of it. Right? So this is the muscle that moves it. So served with it what it moves. Right? And I think for me, it's really important to kind of understand, like I look at this as how the muscles move and what they protected inside the animal. That's how I learned to butcher. Whereas a lot of butchers are classically taught you have certain numbered cuts for certain numbered things, right? They want a, I don't know, what is it, a 406 and a 407 and a 209. They have specific cuts that they deem are mandatory for them to sell. Whereas if you learn to butcher in a different way, you create a different process, you also have more options to sell to your customer, but also to use at home and think in fun ways, right? Like to me, it's gotta be fun, right? So can I see that tail? So if you were to come to the restaurant, I would score the skin. I would needle it, brine it, slow roast it. This would be braised. And then you would get this at the table sliced. And then you would have a crispy tail that everybody would fight over and eat it like corn on the cob. Yeah. So this is where you're going to find some of those glands or whatever you choose to call them, which is right there. Those have got to come out. You can cut those out and then utilize the fat, but you don't eat them. They're very bitter. Really important to understand you don't get them in your sausage. Okay, now, if we wanted to, you can take this section of belly off and then just have a loin roast. This is what you were just asking me about. What is back bacon? That's this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And mostly on one side of the steak where it's
Both sides.
marbled, or
Both sides. So this is only half of the beast, right?
Okay.
So you have 2 back straps, right? So you can do full loins, you can do pork chops from both sides, mini loins, you can do half porchettas, you can do full length porchettas, you can stuff a whole pig porchetta.
Just not all at the same time.
Not all at the same time. Oy. Here's some more of that. Does anybody have any questions as I'm going? I know it's a lot of little bits here and pieces. It's another piece of the sweetbread. But yeah, I think it's really kind of important to like look at it from like, okay, what else is in here? We've got copa. So if I'm gonna take this guy, you used to come to coxcomb, or if you came to jackrabbit, I feel like a grease ball, by the way. I've got pork fat all over me. I'm going to tenderize myself later. Sorry. There we go. The trotter, the proper trotter. These can be deboned, tunnel boned, and stuffed. This would be what would be used for cotechino and zampone. They would make the cotechino from the skin, a lot of the sinewy bits. They would spice it and then debone this and stuff it back inside, tie it up, slow cook it, and of course it would be served with lentils for the new year.
Good luck in the new year.
Good luck in the new year. Now, it's kind of funny that they call this pork butt or shoulder. What? Who came up with pork butt? Who is the idiot who doesn't understand top from bottom? Right? What butcher thought that was bright? I don't know. I have people come to us and say, "Where do I get the pork butt?" That's not the pork butt. It is truly the pork butt. Physically it is, but if you go to a butcher shop and you ask for a pork butt, you're not going to get that. You're going to get the shoulder. Okay, so shoulder is your pork butt. I know it's kind of sad that we have a system that does not understand anatomy.
So within the shoulder, there's two different shoulder cuts, correct? Like
Yes.
You have the butt or the copa, the top.
The copa,
side.
which is the eye.
Yeah. And then you have the picnic shoulder on the bottom.
Man, you're like Mr. Man now.
I learned it from watching you.
I think I've forgotten everything over the years. It's been a while. Okay. I'll tell you guys a funny story. I tried to get Brett to move to Napa to come help me at a project in Napa, and I'm really glad he didn't, because he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing now. Right? To me, it's like really great. He made the right decision in staying in Portland and doing this. So kudos to him for telling me no. Not many people know when to say no, and I think that's a very important learned skill. Sorry, I'm trying to look here.
So to me, this is my favorite cut off the hog. I think that's like one of the questions that every chef gets asked.
The copa.
They kind of like roll their eyes sometimes, where it's like, first one is, I don't know, just don't ask the chefs, what's your specialty?
Yes, don't do that. Or what's your favorite dish to make?
Yeah. But if I had to pick a cut off the hog, and that was the only one that I got to enjoy, or which one I enjoyed the most, the copa. It's my favorite for curing. It has this wonderful web of fat throughout it.
And roasting.
And it has all this developed flavor from it being working muscle. It roasts really lovely. You can char it in steaks. It makes a perfect round medallion for the type 1 perfectionists in the crowd. It's really satisfying to have a perfectly round steak. And then also, and like that braised out, copa braised, especially like in the springtime, if you braise it in milk and make a milk sauce from it, it is spectacular.
With a little sage. And lemon peel. You need the lemon peel and the sage when you braise it in milk, because the milk actually curdles and it creates all that nice, like delicious. All right, so this one is my little secret here. The inner neck tenderloin. It runs right along here. That's actually my little favorite. Now, if we were to separate out that copa that Brett's talking about, we're going to go here, and then we have our other side over here. But again, there's some more.
So the copa is the upper shoulder?
Upper. So, eye. So think about if you ever see capicolo, right? That cured muscle. It's this one right in here. Okay, you can, like you said, you can truss it and roast it. You can cure it. You can braise it. It's just got so many great applications. It's a sneaky cut that's found in a inexpensive cut of pork. Right? Shoulder, pork butt. It's just like, to me, this is like this magic, sneaky one that you can get for a quarter of the price as you would get anything else.
You can buy the inexpensive or cheap barbecue meat, and if you get them as the whole shoulder, I would come and take the highest value cut to me off the animal as a copa, and then you can smoke the rest of it. And then you get dinner with the wife and kids. And then you get barbecue with the friends on the weekend,
So what you took off, was that the shoulder blade?
Yeah. Can I see that again? The neck and shoulder. Okay, so what you have here, this is your split neck.
Yeah.
So like, and these are the two front ribs. Okay, so the blade of the shoulder, part of the blade,
You're still in there, and then the head.
and then I got the lower edge, that's what I was looking for. I took it out. There she is. Scapula. Okay, and if I turn it around, okay, and then you would trim this out, take off your copa, which I'm gonna do right now. But yeah, so if I put it back on, and I'm standing creature, that's where your head would attach right here. Okay, moving neck. Okay, into the spine, split down that spine, went down the whole way, right? So if you look, do you mind flipping around?
Okay.
Yep. This is rested spine. Okay? That make a little more sense? It is kind of hard, right? It's like when it's half on the table, it's difficult to understand which is which. They actually do all these culinary competitions where they like put all these parts out on the table, and they ask the chefs that they say they're brilliant butchers and they do all this whole animal, how to put the animal back together when it's only a half and everybody gets confused. I don't care how good you are, people get confused. 5, yeah. All right, I'm gonna remove some more glands.
You're there.
Yeah.
What are the baby back?
Baby backs.
They're just not very long.
I didn't cut them off. I left them on because I want a big long, so you would trim here and you would leave more meat on.
So you see that the piece that you said to make sure to take out, which is very
Yeah.
smart. That was the little like the cartilage.
The feather cartilage, yeah.
Like that would be the end of like the St. Louis with longer ribs.
So sometimes people leave those, take those off to have a short bone on your pork chop. If you want more dramatic pork chops, you leave long bones on. If you want super dramatic, you leave the belly on and you do bacon chops, right? So then you can just have, this way when you're doing it, you end up having, it becomes more fiscally viable and it allows you to have more cuts to play with. Anybody else? One of those cuts that you see at the store? That's actually a really great question.
Oh.
Huh? You're like, hurry up, hurry up.
We're almost there. You're doing it.
I know. I'm just making sure I get all these little gnarlies. All right. Last one here.
So the final cuts that are happening. Anybody have any last questions before we enjoy lunch and all the things that get made from the pork? Yes.
So you guys touched on the papanega and the acorn rib pigs and the reason that's sought after is the linoleic acid. And the acorn it helps with antioxidant properties, low melting point with fat. Is there anything domestically that people are rearing to kind of have that same kind of?
So there's some folks. It's a deep question. I'll try to make it quick. So there's a guy, Rodrigo Duarte, who in New Jersey, my home state of all places, is raising an Iberian pig that's a Portuguese breed, and making presunto, which is like a Portuguese ham. And he's raising them out in New Jersey, very similar to that style. He's working with acorns, but the acorns that we have here are different. And there was another farm that started touting that they were doing this acorn finish, and there's some kidney problems that can happen when you use the wrong acorns, and they almost killed all their pigs. So the one farmer's learned a lesson real quick that you can't just do it because you have some oak trees and you can feed them on whatever.
Same thing happened in Lake County up in Napa.
So it's really challenging. There's like certain things like I don't have no wine on me right now. Let me see if I can. Someone in the back I can grab.
It's okay.
So I think what's important about this is eating in your context and your place, right? Like we can't recreate exactly Parma prosciutto, jamon iberico de bellota, but America has some fabulous country hams all through the southeast of America.
Yep.
There's some folks that are making some in the Midwest that are also making some in California, that are making some up in this area and in Seattle. And I think enjoying the time and place and your context is important to not try to have to replicate these things, because it's almost going to be dangerous if you try to replicate this Iberico.
I think that's actually a really good point, and I think something that Kathy does at Nostrana which is really special, is that Kathy cooks in a region of Italy called Portland. Okay? She embraces her community, what's available, but with the ethos of cooking in Italy. And I think that's really, you can't do the same thing. You are embodying what it means and what it is, but you're using what's there for you, which is what your farmers are growing in the moment, in the time and the place, which is the same thing Kathy experienced when she went to Italy. And I think it's the same thing that you really need to look at with your dining and your eating and the way people are raising animals. You can't replicate everything from everywhere in the world. It just won't work. We can't. We don't have that potential. We don't have the same products, right?
Well, we're in wine country. Like I think the winemakers here will attest to this. Like some folks are like, why isn't it Napa Cab? Like,
because it's not Napa.
We're in Pinot and Chardonnay country here, and those can be just as good, if not better. It's just its own thing. Closest that we got in this area to that like Jamón Ibérico de Beoza, where the acorn finished Iberian hog is that hazelnut finished area dog.
I mean, look, we even have people making cannabis-raised pigs. It doesn't do anything, you know. It's like you feed them all the spent leaves of cannabis. Like, there's a million ways to do things that are unique to your locale and region, and it will impart a flavor of your region. There's something to be said for terroir, right, in the wines that you drink, which I think is really important, right? So the terroir for this area, the Pacific Northwest, is distinctly different from the terroir in California. But California terroir varies because we're right on the border, and you go from almost the Pacific Northwest all the way down to Baja, right? So what does that mean, California terroir? Where do you live, right? Where do you live in the Pacific Northwest? Are you in Portland? Are you in wine country? It all changes upon what's available in your grounds, your soil, your rain content. You know, you guys have the best bush berries on the planet. I have to say, I do miss that dramatically being here.
Strawberries soon.
Strawberries soon, your bush berries.
This is that. Okay, Chef was kind enough to leave a nice little like mohawk of.
Yeah, I want you to have the fat cap, right? So I'm just gonna seam out this shoulder, right? Now, there's two different ways to braise a pork shoulder, right? Bone in, bone out. I prefer leaving the bone in. It does take longer when you braise it, but you can also do two different separates, right? We debone it and you pull it back together and you end up trussing it before you braise it, but I would separate it into two separate pieces, and it gives me a much more controlled braise and allows me to have multiple meals or different outlets. Any questions so far?
So yeah, last links for questions. Yes.
One more quick one. So I think one of the most beautifully marbled jobs I ever had was when I was in San Francisco for they said that the farm was adjacent to like an apple farm, and on the other side it was a goat cheese and cheddar fruit. And so they would finish the hogs on like apples they couldn't sell at the market, and then like the buttermilk or whatever, like the byproducts were like the chef production.
Yep.
And it was insane. I wish I could find that, but like, is there anyone else you know that's kind of doing that weird?
Well, I think you should come up here and check out this hog.
Butcher's twine?
Ooh, that. And I think you'll see the fat cap and the marble on it is pretty significant. The apple finish, so you're finishing on like high sugar carbohydrate. So it's storing the fat and it's building it right at the finish. So it's a great process. The whey, adding protein along the way is like growth cycle. It's helping put on the muscle. So it's a great like 1-2 to get that hog to finish it like really good marble and great muscle structure. So you don't end up just like a big lardy pig. Because if they can just sit there and eat carbohydrate all day and do nothing, they would. They're pigs. I mean, come on, right? That's it. Go sit around on the couch like a hog. Anyways,
they're not eating potato chips and watching Kardashians.
Again, there's a seasonal component to that, right? Like to be finishing an orchard on fallen apples, knowing your farmer, knowing the butcher, sourcing from a farm that has access to those orchards, Usually it's going to require you knowing small farmers or a butcher that sources from small farmers to know where things are coming. There's a couple small farms in the area where if you time it right, if you're getting October, November harvest, you can get some that are apple finished. But there's no one that I know in the area that's like got a commercial model that's saying like we're apple finished for. It's more about like small farm that has a couple of litters a year. They sell herd share, mostly direct, knowing them, working with a on-farm butcher or abattoir. There's some great ones in the area that can go out and harvest, and you pay the farmer, and you pay the butcher to harvest and butcher, and you'll know what they ate by asking them. I could almost guarantee, well, I'll guarantee now, prove me wrong, please, that no grocery store shelf will tell you what they ate in the package.
Right.
I would be willing to do like an Indiana Jones level butcher.
But like I said, we at around the Tabula Rasa, the hogs that we have that come around about, we have a group that finishes in October that I speak up for the restaurants that I try to get as many hogs from as possible. They're finishing on some of the eggcorn and the fermented plum, and at that point, we're giving them all like the pumpkin and fallen apples. Like we're like feeding them a big swath of the diet is coming from like the end of the season produce glut. So that's, to me, that's the best time to be eating pork in this region. So another one, like be in your place, best pork of the year, October, early November. All right. There it is.
And here's your deboned shoulder. Now, if you wanted, you can score this. This is actually really fun to do slow roasted. Rub your inside with lots of rosemary, crushed garlic, salt, kind of butterflied open, re-roll it back up. We would truss it and slow roast it, super low, like 225 in the oven. And by the end of the time, you get big puffy cracklings on the top, and you have this like fork tender, the fat renders in, you can put onions and apples below, you can put fennel below it, but really slow in your oven, and it comes out incredible. Just as good as braising, but you can just walk away from it, you don't have to worry about it, right? Like it's one of those things you leave and go. Like, if you got one of those ovens, you can put a timer on and just trust yourself. Can you trust yourself to cook something at like 212, 220, right? For a long period of time, that slow roast makes for magnificent cracklings. And because you have so much marbling in this shoulder, it really gives you such a luscious finished product. And this is one of those perfect, like, okay, we're gonna go out on Saturday morning and go spend the day outside, go do things, you come home and you have this roasted, puffy, crackly, delicious, moist, shareable shoulder that you have family come over with. All that rendered fat below, used to cook your potatoes, used to cook your fennel, and serve it with a big salad, and you serve it with Christmas, right? You serve it with salsa verde and salsa picante, and then you have a really good meal with friends.
Then you can make bacon out of your bacon, and you still get like a crispy belly-like kind of product without sacrificing the
exactly.
bacon.
So there's a couple different ways to take a look at a hog with all these different parts. Instead of it always being those consistent traditional cuts you see at the restaurant, there's a lot more to